स्वयातात्म्यं प्रकृताश्च तिरोधिः शरणागतिः भक्तभेद प्रबुद्धस्य श्रैष्ठ्यं सप्तम उच्यते. This is the summary shloka of the 7th chapter of the Gita from the Gitartha Sangraha. We are in the Madhyama Shatka of the Gita, beginning a very important, exhilarating journey of the Gita. Because until now, the hero has not really entered. The first 6 chapters deal with the individual souls, the jivatmas. They deal with the sadhanas of karma yoga and jnana yoga. Krishna, until the end of the 6th chapter, has not yet started his exposition on the central theme of the Gita. Madhyame Bhagavat Tattva Yatatmyavapti Siddhaye. The Madhya Shadga between chapters 7 to 12 is considered the middle hexad of the Gita. The central theme of this middle 6 chapters of the Gita is Bhagavat Tattva. Bhagavat Tattva is essentially knowing and realizing the ultimate reality, Bhagavan. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sabhyate. Bhagavatam beautifully describes who is that Brahman, who is that Bhagavan. So therefore, we are, as we reassemble to continue the journey of the summaries of the Gita, the 7th chapter is the beginning of knowing Krishna. And we cross the state from a state of knowing about Krishna to knowing Krishna. Now this is the transition that we are going to make. Swayatatmyam prakritasya thirodhihi sharanagatihi bhakta veda prabuddhasya sraishtyam saptama uchyate. What are the key topics of the 7th chapter? Swayatatmyam. Swayatatmya is knowing Krishna's nature. What is the nature of God? How do we know Him? It is not easy to define God. We all keep thinking about Him, but if we were to give a definition, a comprehensive, all-encompassing definition, then we may struggle a little bit. So the first topic of this chapter is the nature of Bhagavan, the nature of Paramatma, nature of Krishna. Swayatatmya. Prakrityasya thirodhihi sharanagatihi. Now, the question that we all have is, why can't we easily know Him? Why can't we see Him? All of us want to see God. But before seeing Him, we should know Him at least. Even knowing Him is not easy. So the second topic in this chapter is, what is that which prevents us from knowing Him and prevents us from seeing Him? There seems to be some kind of a black curtain which is blinding us from seeing reality, from seeing Bhagavan. Prakriti asya tirodhihi. Tirodhi means a screen. It's like as though we are covered by a screen. And what is that screen? And therefore, if we need to know him, how do we know him? Sharanagatihi. Surrendering to him alone, we will get to know him. Bhakta Bheda Prabuddhasya Sraishtam Saptama Uchyate. Bhakta Bhedaha. This chapter also deals with different categories of bhaktas. Prabuddhasya Sraishtam. Who is the supreme bhakta? How do we know that supreme bhakta who Krishna himself celebrates? So these are the principal topics of the 7th chapter. Mayyasakta manah partha yogam yunjan madashrayaha asamshayam samagram mam yata ajñasyasi tatshruno. This is how the chapter starts. Mayyasakta manah partha. This is how Krishna begins the 7th chapter. Now, what we see here is a major shift in the focus of the Gita. We see a major shift in the focus. In the first 6 chapters of the Gita, the focus was on detachment. Throughout the first 6 chapters, Krishna extensively talks about the virtue, the value, the significance of detachment. And we also understood that detachment is not being emotionless. We understood in the first 6 chapters of the Gita that detachment does not mean being stone-hearted. Detachment is not being emotionless. Detachment means being emotionally independent. Detachment is not being emotionally dependent on worldly objects, worldly things, and worldly people. That is detachment. Detachment is a kind of a true freedom that we can enjoy. And we also looked at detachment from results of the actions that we do. Krishna also extensively talks about it. Detachment from results does not mean irresponsibility. Detachment from results does not mean carelessness or not caring for results. Detachment from results means being actually practical and realizing that there are things which are beyond our control and we have to accept what is beyond our control. So therefore, the focus of the first 6 chapters has been this principle of detachment. The whole of Karma Yoga is based on the foundational principle of detachment. Now, starting from the 7th chapter, we see a big shift that Krishna is making. What is the shift that Krishna is making? Krishna is making a shift from focus on detachment to focus on attachment. You may be wondering what's happening. Until 6th chapter, Krishna was talking about how we should not be attached. And he was talking about the virtues of detachment. So why is he shifting the focus from detachment to attachment? The question to ask is, when we talk of detachment, detachment from what needs to be clearly understood. And when we talk of attachment, attachment to what also needs to be clearly understood. So this shift in the focus from detachment to attachment is a very interesting shift that is happening. In many ways, the root cause of our ills in samsara is not really it's not really attachment, it is detachment. You all would wonder, those of you who have been following the first 6 chapters would suddenly ask, why is this sudden shift? What is it Krishna going to talk about? The root cause of all the ills of samsara is lack of attachment to Krishna. Now, the shift in the focus that Krishna is making from detachment to attachment is from talking about detachment from the world. Now, Krishna is shifting his focus to attachment to Krishna. That is why he starts saying, Maya Sakta Manah Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashrayaha. Maya Sakta. Hey Arjuna, attach to me. Focus your mind on me. Maya Sakta Manah Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashrayaha. Krishna is introducing the doctrine of Bhakti Yoga. Yogam Yunjan Madashrayaha. Taking refuge in Krishna. Asamshayam samagram mam yatagnyasasi tachrunu. Hey Shrunu. Whenever Krishna wants Arjuna's attention, this is the art of a master communicator. He knows when the audience is going to divert their attention. Immediately say, hey Arjuna, Shrunu, listen. When the speaker suddenly says listen, automatically the listener would be forced to listen. Hey Shrunu Arjuna, I'm going to talk about something very, very important, something very, very vital. The question here that Krishna is addressing is how to fix our mind. We have identified the root cause of the ills of samsara in the first 6 chapters. We have clearly identified, especially during the 5th and 6th chapters, Krishna extensively talks about mind mastery. And he talks about how, unless we master the mind, we cannot master our own selves, our own lives. So how do we fix the mind? The short answer is, to fix the mind on Krishna. Now, when we say fix, there are 2 meanings to fix. Fix can mean repair. Fix can mean focus. To fix the mind, to repair the mind, fix the mind on Krishna. Focus the mind on Krishna. This is the simple formula that Krishna is giving to Arjuna. Maya Sakta Manah Partha. Now, the question that we immediately ask is, okay, I understand how to fix my mind. To fix my mind, I have to fix my mind on Krishna. So how do I fix my mind on Krishna? This shloka itself gives the process. Now, we need to look at the shloka in a reverse order. Look at the shloka. Maya Sakta Manah Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashrayaha Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatagnyasasi Tachrunu. Krishna ends the shloka with Shrunu. Now, the process to fix the mind begins with the end of the shloka. We need to now look at the shloka in a reverse order. The first step is, Hey Arjuna, Shrunu. To fix the mind on Krishna, we have to start by listening to Krishna, listening to Krishna Katha, listening to Krishna's glories. The journey always has to start by knowing about Krishna. Knowing about Krishna means getting to know about his cheshtitas, getting to know about his teachings, getting to know about his nature. That's the first step. Now, as we start knowing about him by listening, Shravana is the fundamental step in any spiritual journey. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Darshana. Darshana is vision. Or if we need to see him, we need to go through a process. There are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. If I need to do a PhD, I need to start from LKG. I cannot go and demand, give me a PhD certificate today. But unfortunately, we all start saying, I can't see God. Can you make me see God? Yes, we can see God. All of us. I remember this question that our Adyaji asked long time back. Can we see God? Yes, we can see him. Can we see Krishna? Yes, we can see. But there is a process. If we follow the process diligently, guaranteed. And the process starts with listening, Shravana, Shrunu. When we start to listen to what the Shastras have to teach, Jnasyasi, going back, Jnasyasi. From listening, we go to the next stage of knowing. From knowing about, we go to the stage of knowing. What is the difference between knowing about and knowing? Knowing about is getting all the details. It's more of content that we are getting. Knowing is assimilating the content and experiencing. All of us can easily know about Narendra Modi, but knowing him means we need to actually relate with him and experience interaction and relationship with him. Similarly, knowing about God is accumulating content in our minds. But knowing God, knowing Krishna is starting to experience him. Jnasyasi, knowing. Shrunu, jnasyasi, samagram jnasyasi. Little by little, knowing him, samagram is in entirety. Knowing his true nature. The more we know him, the more we start to love him. Bhakti in us grows the more we start knowing Krishna. Samagram jnasyasi. When that step is crossed, samagram jnasyasi, asamshayam, all our doubts that we have in our mind automatically will get addressed. So all of us, when we are on the spiritual journey, we have thousands and thousands of doubts, very natural. To doubt is not unnatural at all. But what we need to understand is the answers that we are seeking will be revealed to us through a process that we need to go. And if we are sticking to that process, when we are on this journey consistently, we will start getting the answers. Asamshayam, all the doubts will dissolve. It's just a matter of time. And when all the doubts dissolve, then there is total clarity in the mind. We understand Krishna. We know him so very well. We start to experience him. And when we start to experience him, we start to realize him. And then Yogam Yunjan. Yogam Yunjan, yoga here is Bhakti Yoga. Yogam Yunjan Madashrayaha, Ashraya. Through Bhakti, we take refuge in him. And the process of taking refuge in Krishna through Bhakti is fixing the mind on Krishna, attaching ourselves to Krishna. This is the attachment that Krishna is talking. This is the shift in the focus of the Gita from the first 6 chapters to the next 6 chapters. Maya Saktavanah Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashrayaha Asamshayam Samagramma Yata Jnasyasi Tatshrunu. Thus, Krishna says, hey Arjuna, you know and I know that when we have to detach from the world, we have to, but it is not easy. Detaching from the world is not easy at all. But how do I detach from the world? When we attach to Krishna, detaching from the world becomes a byproduct. The more we attach ourselves to Krishna, the easy it is for us to detach from the world. As our love for Krishna grows, we slowly and steadily, we progress from getting locked at the material level, we get elevated slowly and steadily. Therefore, attaching to Krishna becomes so very vital in our spiritual journeys. So this chapter, interestingly, is also a chapter of numbers. So Krishna gives a very makes an analytical presentation of reality. If we need to understand reality, it is presented in a very interesting format. Krishna uses several numbers. These numbers also hold the key to unraveling mysteries of the universe, unraveling secrets of the universe. So therefore, as we go through this chapter, we will see several numbers that Krishna is going to talk about. Number 2, number 8, number 24, number 3, number 1, so on. So each of these numbers hold some very interesting significance, and each number is a key to unlock a mystery. Krishna says, hey Arjuna, you have to acquire 2 kinds of knowledge. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyami aseshataha. Jnana vijnana. That interestingly, this chapter, 7th chapter, is titled Jnana Vijnana Yoga. What is jnana and what is vijnana? Jnana is knowledge. Vijnana is differentiating knowledge. Vivida jnana. Knowledge of what? Jnana of Krishna. Knowing the nature of God. That is jnana. Vijnana is knowing how to differentiate him from everything else. That is vijnana. Give a simple example. If we need to know the key characteristics of, let's say, an elephant, for example, jnana of the elephant we know through certain key attributes like winnover like ears, a trunk which is very, very unique. These are very, very special key features which are unique only to the elephant. And then there are other characteristics, black in color, which is massive in size. All these are additional qualities on top of the primary qualities. Similarly, there are certain primary qualities with which we know the nature of God. When we have to define God, if somebody says define God, how do we define God? Have we ever thought about it? Our Shastras beautifully give a definition. This is such a powerful definition. This is what Krishna is going to teach here from the 7th chapter onwards. The Shastras say, Yato va imani bhutani jayante, yena jatani jivanti, yat prayanti, abhisamvishanti, tat vijijnasasva, tat brahmeti, the Shastra says. The one from which this entire universe manifests, the one by which this entire universe is maintained and supported, the one into which once again this manifested universe goes back and becomes unmanifest, know him as God. That's the definition of God. So very, very comprehensive, very, very all-encompassing definition. So Krishna here is saying jnana, nature of Krishna, vijnana. How do I distinctively know him? That he is distinct and different from every other, distinguishing knowledge. Knowledge and distinguishing knowledge. Krishna says, the moment one knows me, knows everything. Yajñātva neha bhūyonyaji jñātavyam savishishyate. Which means the only knowledge that we need to have in our life and living is knowledge of God, knowledge of Krishna. The moment we have that knowledge, every other knowledge is included in that knowledge. Because this universe is his manifestation. Which means knowing him means knowing this universe. Knowing him means knowing the workings of this universe as well. So everything and anything that we need to ever know for a successful life and living is essentially knowing him. So therefore, number 2, Krishna starts with, make note of these numbers as we go along throughout the chapter. Jnana, vijnana, 2 kinds of knowledge Krishna talks about. Then we all have this question, how easy or how difficult it is. Krishna himself says, hey Arjuna, let me give you a caveat. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschin yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tatpataha. Again, another number that you need to make. 1 out of 1,000. This is the formula that Krishna is giving. He says, hey Arjuna, this spiritual journey is a difficult journey. It's not easy. Only 1 out of 1,000 is giving a thumb rule here. Manushyanam sahasreshu. Krishna says 1,000, we have to say thousands. No. He out of compassion is saying 1,000. We have to add one S, make it plural. 1 out of thousands will endeavor to come on this path. And out of those thousands who have come on this path, only one will get to know him. This is, now immediately we say, this is too difficult for us. We are on this, why should we go through this difficulty? Then Krishna's message here is not to shift our focus on the difficulty of the journey, is actually shifting our focus on the opportunity that we all have. When we all look at life and say, long way to go. This is one part of the story. The another part of the story is how long we have already come. There is a completely different way of looking at things. What is important is to not focus on how far we are, but actually focus on how close we are. The fact that we are already on the path of the Gita, the fact that we are already listening to the Gita, which means we have already crossed that Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschid Yatati Siddhaye. So, which means we are not really far away as we think. Otherwise, we would not be blessed with the treasury of the Gita. So, therefore, instead of saying how far we are, we should be actually telling ourselves how close we are to Krishna. How close we are. The beauty of the spiritual path is, like any other path, there is a finishing line. The beauty of this spiritual path is, as we get going towards the finishing line also keeps coming towards us. This is the beauty. We think we are still far away, but as long as we are on the right path, the magic, the wonder is the finishing line day by day gets closer and closer and closer to us. So Krishna ensures that the moment we turn towards him, he keeps running towards us. That's the beauty of this path. Therefore, here the focus is on the opportunity. The more we start knowing him, the more we are falling in love with him. And that love evokes a sense of wonder. Someone said, when you are in love, wonders happen. And then after marriage, one wonders what happened. I'm not talking of that kind of love here. Love with Krishna is different. You're always, wonders are always happening. This is one love. This is one eternal relationship where wonders are happening all the time. The more you know Krishna, you are in a state of awe all the time. Every little detail of the knowing of Krishna, you are wonder struck. And that is the wonder that kindles that blissful experience. This knowing will slowly blossom into experiencing Krishna. And that experience of Krishna initially possibly is very short-lived. But the beauty is, as we keep progressing on this path, that experience slowly and steadily transforms into realization, which means longer duration. And it is that realization eventually will translate to vision. So Krishna here brings that focus for all of us, saying, look at how close we can get to Krishna, how close we already are. And then Krishna takes up explaining reality to Arjuna. This is where he uses some numbers. Numbers are sometimes important for us to register. When we want to describe reality, it's not very easy. When we look at this universe out there, the universe that we can perceive, the material world, how do we understand this material world? Krishna talks about there are certain building blocks that make up this universe. What are the building blocks? Bhumirapo nalovayuhu kammano buddhirevacha ahankara itiyamme bhinna prakritirashtada. This world of matter that we see and perceive, the perceivable world of matter, which is called Prakriti. Prakriti, hey Arjuna, is eightfold in nature, he says. Essentially, so the number 8 that Krishna is using there can be then further, if we drill dive, that 8 becomes 24. Essentially, Krishna is talking about 24 tattvas. What are tattvas? Tattvas are essentially building blocks of reality. So 24 tattvas of Prakriti that Krishna is talking about are, when we say Prakriti, in Sanskrit there is another term, Achit, that which does not have knowledge. The world of matter is insentient, has no knowledge, and that is called Prakriti. It is made out of the 24 building blocks. We all have heard of the 5 building blocks, Panchabhutas. We are all familiar with that. The 5 Panchabhutas. The 5 Panchabhutas are also, these are the gross matter. This gross matter is associated with 5 categories of subtle matter, which is what is called Pancha Tanmatras. Shabda, Sparisha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Shabda, sound. Rupa, color, form. Rasa, taste. Gandha, smell. All these are subtle matter. 5 plus 5, 10, we already know. Then there are Indriyas, sense organs. There are 5 Karmendriyas, organs of action, and 5 Jnanendriyas, organs of perception. So you put 5 plus 5, 10. We already have 10. 10 plus 10, 20. What are the 4 more? Where do these all come from? They all come from the tattva called Ahankara. Where does Ahankara come from? A tattva called Mahat. Where does the Mahat come from? It comes from Moola Prakriti. So we see, so the beauty is, when we look at the macrocosm of creation and the microcosm of creation, we see the design is the same. Just like how at the microcosm, at the individual level, there is an ego. At the universal level, there is an ego. At the individual level, there is mind. Universal level, there is a mind. All this, everything, this entire evolution of Prakriti, of the physical building blocks, come from Moola Prakriti, which is made up of the 3 gunas, which we all know: Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. This is only a very high level. I know the metaphysics can be a little very dry, but the more as we go through the Gita, the lot more we get to understand. But what Krishna is trying to talk about here, he says, hey Arjuna, know this as my lower Prakriti, he says. This entire world of matter is Krishna's lower nature, his lower property. He has twin attributes. One is Prakriti, other is Purusha. One is Achit, the other is Chit. So Prakriti is made up of 24 tattvas. Bhumirapo, Nalo, Vayu, Kammano, Buddhirevacha, Ahankara iti yamme bhinna Prakriti rashtada. He says, hey Arjuna, apart from this lower nature of mine, there is a higher nature. Apareyam itastvanyam prakritim viddhime param jiva bhutam mahabaho. All the jivas, the jiva tattvas, all the individual atmans, the individual souls, they are all higher Prakriti, higher nature. They too belong to him. He is characterized therefore by twin properties. One is Prakriti, other is Purusha. Prakriti is insentient matter. Purusha, all the individual souls which have knowledge. Entire universe is a creation bringing these two together. And Krishna says, hey Arjuna, you must know that this entire universe is a combination of the jivas and the Prakriti, and I, the creator, the origin, the source, I am also the support and the inner controller. No, Bhagavan, Krishna, is not just the creator, he is also the one who, after creation, he also pervades and permeates every entity in the creation. And Krishna gives a beautiful example. He says, Mattah parataram nanyati kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvam midam protam sutre manigana iva. Beautiful example. Sutre manigana iva. Just visualize a beautiful necklace made up of various precious gems. This entire creation, he says, is like that necklace made up of various precious gems. And this universe, all the entities are a combination of the Chit and Achit, the Jivas, Jivatmas and Prakriti coming together. All of us, we have the Jivatma, the indwelling soul, and we also have a body which is made up of Prakriti. This body is made up of the 24 tattvas of Prakriti. And every entity that we can think of in this creation is coming together of these two tattvas. And he says, if that is the necklace, this entire creation, know me as that string which runs through this entire necklace, which sustains and supports this entire creation. We see the universe easily. We don't see that string within the pearls which is active. Without the string, there is no necklace. Without Krishna, there is no universe. The beauty here is that he is not somebody sitting out there. He is very much immanent. This is the beauty of Krishna. He is immanent. He is immanent and he is transcendent at the same time. That's why he says, Matta parataram nanyati kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre maniganaivat. He is immanent, which means he is present in every entity. He pervades and permeates everything in this universe. At the same time, he also transcends at the same time. Immanence, his indwelling presence. Why he needs to be present? By being present in every entity, he supports and he controls from within. We are what we are only because of Krishna. We have no existence without him. We are inseparable from him. This entire universe, every entity has no meaning, has no substance. He is the substratum which supports, which controls, which gives meaning to what this universe is all about. That is the glory of his immanence. At the same time, he is also transcendent. So, mattah parataram nanyate. There is no one higher or superior to him. He is the supporter, he is the controller, and he is also one who, the ultimate destination for us, he is transcendent. So, through that beautiful example here, what are the numbers that we see here? Krishna talks about 24 tattvas of Prakriti. Now, these 24 tattvas of Prakriti make up, is essentially coming from the Moola Prakriti, which is made up of 3 gunas. So, everything starts with 3 gunas. The one Moola Prakriti made of 3 gunas evolves and emanates and becomes 24 building blocks, with which the entire universe of matter is created. Now, apart from these 24 tattvas, there is a 25th tattva, which is the Jiva tattva. And apart from this, there is the Bhagavat tattva. Now, at a high level, we can again look at numbers. Tattva is 1. Krishna is 1 tattva. Now, this 1 tattva has 2 tattvas as his properties, inseparable properties. The 2 tattvas are the Chit tattva and Achit tattva. Now, immediately we ask, is reality 1 or reality many? The answer is reality is both. It is 1 and many at the same time. This is the beauty. The many is essentially inseparable from the 1, and the 1 is immanent in the many and transcendent. So that's how Krishna establishes his position, and he says everything that you can think of is essentially emanated from me, is essentially manifested from me. He is the cause of all causes, the source of all sources, and therefore this world that has emanated from him has to be beautiful because he is beautiful. That's why he gives this example of the necklace which is beautiful. Now, then the next question that Arjuna has and all of us have, why don't we realize this? Now, Krishna says, hey Arjuna, I permeate and pervade everything in this universe, which means it is actually not difficult to constantly contemplate and experience Krishna. Why? Krishna says, hey Arjuna, rasoham apsu kaunteya. He says, raso, and he goes on giving examples. He says, hey Arjuna, I pervade and permeate everything, and therefore, even a mundane act of drinking water can actually become experience of Krishna, because the qualities of thirst quenching, we know the water has the qualities of thirst quenching, health enriching, life sustaining. The qualities of life sustaining, health enriching, thirst quenching of the water is nothing but the qualities of Krishna. Without Krishna, water cannot quench our thirst. Water cannot sustain our life. Everything and anything is a fraction of splendor of Krishna, which means for us in our life and living, there is no way that we are separated from Him. There is no way that we cannot stop experiencing Him. Drinking water, I experience Krishna. Seeing the sun, I experience Krishna. Eating food, I experience Krishna. Breathing oxygen, I experience Krishna. Sending out carbon dioxide, I experience Krishna. Everything, because everything in this universe is pervaded and permeated by Him. So therefore Krishna says, it is not difficult, hey Arjuna, at all to be unconscious of me. Then Arjuna has a question, but Krishna, majority of the people are completely unconscious of you. You are saying it is not easy, it is very easy, but then the majority of the people are not just aware. They are not aware. For majority, Krishna, forget about being the center, forget about being the periphery, He is not part of their lives and living. Why is that? Arjuna asks. One of my favorite stories, I always never get tired of saying this. There was this barber who was an atheist, and a wise man visited that barber, and the wise man was getting his beard trimmed and his hair cut. So as the conversation was going on, and light conversation got serious, the barber knew this wise man is a great Krishna Bhakta. And as the conversation going on, the barber started saying, you know what? Your God does not exist. What is this? God cannot exist at all. What are you talking about? You're wasting your time. He said. Wise man very patiently looked at him and said, why do you say that? He said, what is this? Isn't it not very visible? You just step out of the street, you see all those beggars out there, you see all those people with diseases, so much suffering in the world. The world is such a terrible place. If God really exists, if your Krishna really exists, why should there be so much suffering? God doesn't exist really. This wise man was very tempted to get into conversation and try to convince him, but he was also in a hurry. So already the job was over. So he said, promptly gave his money. He said, no, we'll have this conversation some other day. And he just walked out. As he was stepping out, he saw across the street, there was this man with long, dirty hair, with an unkempt beard. And he was standing there. And he immediately turned around, looked at the barber and said, you know what? Barbers don't exist. He said. The barber said, what? How can you say that? He said, look at this. Here is a man who has a long, dirty hair. His beard is unkempt. What is this? How can he be like this if barbers exist? He says, what? I am here. I am a barber. I exist. It's just that man has not come to me. Exactly. Bhagavan exists. It's just that we don't go to him. We don't look for him. And therefore, here Arjuna is asking a similar question. Hey Krishna, why is that I am in my day, in the normal day-to-day life, people are unconscious of you? Why do we need to force ourselves even to think of you? If you say Rasoham Apsu Kaunseya Prabhasmi Sasushuryo, when I should be drinking water, I should be thinking of Krishna. Why it doesn't happen? Why do I not really know you? Krishna says, very simple. Hey Arjuna, Daivi Hyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Dhuratyaya. He says, the answer here, Arjuna, is because of Maya. Now, this is the first time that in the Gita, Krishna brings in the concept of Maya. This word Maya is not very easily understood. Only the Mayavi Krishna can explain this to us. What is Maya? Maya, Krishna is referring to that which blinds us. That which blinds us in such a way that we are unable to see Krishna. Krishna's Maya. So what is Krishna's Maya? Krishna's Maya is this Prakriti. This Prakriti which is made up of 24 tattvas. Krishna's Maya is this body, this physical body, this physical eyes, this physical ears, this physical tongue. This is the Maya. Because this Maya is in such a way that it does two things. Maya should not be mistaken as Mithya. Mithya means unreal. Maya means illusion, delusion. Two key words here. Now, how do we understand illusion and delusion? Illusion means misperception. Delusion means miscomprehension. Illusion means, so Maya creates both illusion and delusion. What does it create? Misperception. Misperception means there is a disturbance of what we perceive. Miscomprehension means there is a disturbance of what we believe. When there is delusion, we believe all the wrong things. And when there is illusion, we see everything in a wrong way. We look at this world which is impermanent and we think it is permanent. That is misperception. We look at this world which is constantly changing and we expect it to remain constant. That is Maya. We look at this body and say, somehow I will manage that this body remains young. That is Maya. This body is aging not every year, not every month, not every week, not every day. Every second it is aging. But our Maya somehow makes us perceive that somehow I will use every possible cosmetic and make it look young. That is Maya. And what is delusion? What is Maya? Believing that I am the sole controller. I control everything. I am independent. I am my own master. I am independent of everything. This belief that I am controller, I am master, I am independent is Maya, because ultimately the only controller is Krishna. And similarly, if we the illusion that we have is, it's like, there is this famous English saying, all that glitters is not gold. So that is illusion, right? We look, anything that is sparkling, we think, oh, that is gold. Similarly, this world, Maya also means something which is wonderful, fantastic. This world is really wonderful, fantastic. It misleads us. It's like we start to taste, small doses of honey, and we think, that is going to give us everlasting bliss. That is Maya. So therefore Krishna says, Daivi Hyesha Gunamayi. Hey Arjuna, this Maya is Daivi because it belongs to Krishna. It is interesting coincidence that soon we are also going to discuss Krishna's Yoga Maya in the 10th canto soon. So here Krishna says he is the Mayavi and it is his Maya, which is Prakriti. Earlier he said Prakriti is his lower nature. It is his property. So therefore this Maya is Krishna's property. And why is this Maya used by Krishna? To build this entire universe. This whole building blocks, this Prakriti is Maya. All these 24 tattvas are all products of Maya. And therefore Krishna says this Maya is Devi, is divine. Daivi Hyesha Gunamayi. So therefore it is divine, it belongs to Krishna, and we also need it in one way. You may wonder why we will need it. Because we need this body. This body, which is the product of Prakriti, which is product of Maya, is both a boon and a bane. It is a bane because it can keep us trapped in samsara. It can also be a boon because it can also lead us out of samsara. Because when I say this body, it also includes the mind, which is also product of Prakriti. So Krishna says, Daivi Hyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. He says, hey Arjuna, my Maya, to cross over this Maya is Duratyaya, almost impossible. It's so formidable. Before Arjuna could get frustrated, he says, Mame vaye prapadyante Maya metam tarantite. Don't get disheartened. The moment one surrenders to me, they can easily cross over. We are all in a surrendered state. We are all in a surrendered state. We have surrendered to Maya. Krishna says, instead of surrendering to Maya, surrender to Mayavi. From surrendering to Maya, by surrendering to Prakriti, surrendering to this world, he says, surrender, change your direction of your surrender. We are anyway in a surrendered state. Surrendering is not something which is new to us, because we have surrendered to our body, we have surrendered to this world, we have surrendered to our worldly attachments, we have surrendered to our desires. We are slaves. Krishna says, realize that by changing the direction of your surrender towards Krishna, then the formidable force of Maya, the formidable force of the three gunas can be easily faced, because then it is no longer we fighting against Prakriti. We delegate that to Krishna. Let him fight. It is his property. Let him take over. The Maya, we can handle the Maya. We cannot handle it. And therefore, all that we need to know is art of delegation. It is like, the employee needs to know how to delegate to his own boss. And here the boss, in organizations, our bosses may not take our delegation. It's a different story. But here is a universal boss who says, delegate to me. Give it everything to me, and I will manage all the challenges for you on your behalf and hold you by hand and let you cross over the ocean of samsara. Daivi hyesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mamevaye prapadyante maya metam tarantite, he says. Krishna then goes on and gives another classification, another set of numbers. He says, hey Arjuna, you must know this. There are those who can easily surrender to me, but there are those who will never surrender to me. Both are 4 in number, he says. There are 4 types of people who never surrender to Krishna. There are 4 types of people who will surrender to Krishna. Who are these 4? The first 4 type of people, Krishna says, he says, the 4 type of people, namam dushkritino moodaha prapadyante naradamaha mayaya apahrita jnanam asuram bhavamashtaha. He says, dushkritinaha, kriti means activity, dushkriti, papa karmas. The one who repeatedly does papa karmas during several lifetimes and accumulates a lot of papas, it becomes very, very difficult for them. The Lord of the papas will ensure that they are always looking in the wrong direction. And Krishna therefore lists 4 type of people, dushkritinaha, 4 type of people who have excess of papa. He says, namam dushkritino moodaha. Muda means ignorant people. Here we need to understand that those who are the humans who are animalistic in nature, they are ignorant that they are actually spiritual beings. Those who identify themselves with the body like animals do. So they are at that level. Because of papa karma, that identification is so very strong. I and my body, there is no distinction at all. And therefore life becomes animalistic in nature. Moodaha. Namam dushkritino moodaha. Prapadyante naradhamaha. The second category. Now, the category is now going one step at a more papas. Next category. Naradhamaha. The first, animalistic, which is also okay when you compare to the next. Naradhamaha. They have some knowledge, but they are corrupted. They are morally corrupted. They are nara adhama. Amongst the humans, they are at the lowest category because of the papa karmas, they are completely corrupted in their mind. Naradhamaha. Third, mayaya apahrita jnana. Very dangerous kind of people. Mayaya apahrita jnana. They have intelligence, but their intelligence is perverted, perverse intelligence. They use the intelligence for everything wrong. Using intelligence, saying, I will prove that Krishna doesn't exist. I will prove that there is no God. Atheists who think they are very rational. Atheists who think they have all the knowledge. Mayaya apahrita jnana. Krishna says, their jnana is stolen away by Maya. It is like the atheists claiming that it is our, God comes out of our imagination. Atheists claim this, right? God comes out of imagination. They do not know it is our imagination that comes out of God. God does not come out of our imagination. Our imagination comes out of God. Our imagination, our creative potency comes from Krishna. But then this creative potency that is very unique to the humans is like a double-edged sword. It can either take us to Krishna or it can take us away from Krishna. Mayaya apahrita jnana, those who have perverse intelligence. And then the worst kind of people, asuram bhavamashra, the demoniac, the asuri, the rakshasas. You think rakshasas existed only till Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. Where are rakshasas? 16th chapter, Krishna will list all the asuri gunas who are rakshasas. Every guna will unfortunately point towards us, and then we'll start feeling very uncomfortable, not knowing who the real rakshasas are. So mayaya apahrita jnana asuram bhavamashritah. These are the 4 kinds of people who can never surrender to me. Hey Arjuna, he said. Then Arjuna says, then who can surrender to you? Let me tell you the good news. There are 4 kinds of people who cultivate bhakti and they can surrender to me. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukriti norjuna arto jignasur artarti jnani cha bharatarshabha. He says, sukritinaha, dushkritinaha, sukritinaha. Dushkriti, those who have papa karmas. Sukriti, which means those who have done a good punya karmas, have excess punya. These Krishna divides into 4. So 4 kinds of bhaktas. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukriti norjuna artaha jignasi attarthi jnani. Artaha artarthi. The one, artarthi is one who wants to accumulate. One who wants to accumulate money, who wants to have relationships, who wants to build prosperity, material abundance. But the good news is, he approaches Krishna and says, hey Krishna, I have a long list. Please, how many ever you can tick today, please tick. Not today, please come on again tomorrow and tick the rest. Artha. Unfortunately, while Krishna is keeping ticking, the list only keeps growing. We do the same trick to Krishna, like what he did to Yashoda Maya. The rope was growing as Yashoda Maya was trying to bind Krishna. We do the reverse to Krishna. The list that we give him, he is also growing every day. Artha is one who is devoted to him, is a bhakta, but bhakti and business, 2 B's, come together. Krishna says that is fine, it's not a problem, at least he's a bhakta. That is his compassion. Artha, artharthi. Artharthi is similar to artha. Artha is one who wants new riches, new property, new things. Artharthi is, in this world, anything that is acquired does not last. It keeps going. So therefore, artharthi is one who wants what he's already lost. He lost money, he lost property, he lost relationships, he lost this, he lost that. So artharthi is seeking what he is lost. So artha and artharthi together can be classified as aishwaryarthi, the one who is constantly wanting more and more and more. And Krishna says he is also a bhakta. Because why? He is seeking from him. Artho jignasu, then the 3rd class of devotee. Jignasu, the one is seeking knowledge. The one is seeking to realize his own nature, his own blissful nature, the nature of his own Atman, realizing self, his own self. He is jignasu. And the 4th is jnani. Jnani cha bharatarshava. The jnani is the 4th who is actually seeking nothing from Krishna. And therefore, who is that jnani? Tesham jnani nitya yuktaha eka bhaktir vishishyate. He is nitya yuktaha eka bhakti. Eka bhakti means this devotion is undivided. For all of us, Krishna bhakti is there, but it is among several other things. We have, let's say, 100 goals. One of the 100 goals is Krishna. Now, eka bhakti means there's only one goal. Undivided love for Krishna. We distribute our love among several things, upon worldly objects, worldly people, and Krishna. A jnani is eka bhakti nitya yuktaha. Nitya yukta is always united, always connected, always constantly contemplating on Krishna. He is the jnani, and he says that jnani is the supreme bhakta. He says, aham sacha mama priyaha. He loves me and I love him more. He is the dearest to me. That jnani is dearest because for him, I am the goal of all goals. And the very purpose of life and living is only Krishna. and Krishna attainment and nothing else. He is Jnani. Thus, Krishna, and that Jnani reaches. How can one become a Jnani? When one reaches that stage, he says, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatmasu Durlabaha. Krishna says, this Mahatma, this Jnani, not easy, Arjuna, not easy to find this Jnani. Is Durlabaha. Bahunam Janmanamante. After several lifetimes, one eventually evolves to become that Jnani, and that Jnani reaches a stage where he realizes Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Everything is Vasudeva. Vasudeva Sarvamiti means everything is Vasudeva, but Vasudeva need not be everything. We have to understand this both. Why? Because everything is Vasudeva, he is immanent. There is nothing that can exist without him in this world. So Vasudeva Sarvamiti means everything is Vasudeva. But he also says, after realizing everything is Vasudeva, he does not say surrender to everything. He says surrender to Vasudeva, which means Vasudeva is also transcendent from everything. Therefore, surrendering to him, he is immanent and transcendent. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatmasu Durlabaha. So we see how throughout the chapter, Krishna is bringing various numbers. He talked about number two types of knowledge, Jnana, Vijnana. Then he talked about 1 in 1,000, those who strive and endeavor to come on this path. Then he broke down this world, this creation, this Prakriti into building blocks. First 8 drilling down into 24. And then he talked about 2 properties. This whole 24 together, Prakriti as one property, and the other property, all the jivas together is as another property. 2. Then he said, both these 2 belong to the one. So reality is threefold. The 2 belonging to the one, the reality is also one. 1 and 3 at the same time. Then he went on talking about 4 kinds of people who can't surrender to him because of their papa karma. 4 kinds of people, 4 kinds of bhaktas, artaha, artarti, jignasu, jnani, the supreme bhakta. 4 kinds of people who easily surrender to him because of their punya karma. Then Krishna says, in the journey of this, the Atma in the samsara, what happened in the process of fulfilling multiple desires, each and every one start to worship several deities. Now this is where Krishna addresses that big question, so-called big question. Is God one or is God many? First of all, the word God is alien to our dharma. God in the English language does not really represent the God. We don't use the word God. We use Brahman, Paramatma, Purushottama, Krishna, Narayana. So Krishna says, the one, as people journey in the samsara, there are different desires that get fulfilled, that need to be fulfilled, and there are several deities. And who are these several deities? Krishna beautifully answers, yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddhayarchitum ichchati tasya tasyachalam shraddha mameva tameva vidadamyaham, he says, as each and every one can worship any deity, and as they keep worshipping different deities, their shraddha is actually strengthened by me, Arjuna. And a deity is worshipped for the sake of fulfillment of a desire, and the fulfillment of the desire also happens through a deity. So which means the shraddha is also given, strengthened by Krishna. The results are also given by Krishna. Who are these deities? All these deities are sparks of that one fire. They are all sparks of that one fire. So therefore, if somebody asks, are all these deities in competition? No. They are all in progression. As we progress through the spiritual journey, by worshipping several deities, Eventually we will see in the Gita where Krishna shows every deity as part of his divine body. It is one Purushottama. Every deity, every divinity is a spark or a manifestation of Krishna, all coming together, and therefore there is only one supreme being. So Krishna says, this is a typical journey of a jiva in the cycle of samsara. And the concluding part of the chapter, Krishna says, in the process of journeying in this life of cycle of samsara, this jivatma is necessarily subject to the forces of duality, because this world, this prakriti, is characterized by duality. This world by design is characterized by duality. If there is pleasure, there has to be pain. If there is heat, there has to be cold. By design, prakriti is characterized by duality, and because of this, the jivatma in the cycle of samsara, subject to the forces of dualities, is impelled to do karma, actions of two kinds, papa karma or punya karma. Both of this result in accumulation of vasanas, and this samsara, hey Arjuna, is nothing but a whirlpool of vasanas. Every action that one does, one accumulates this vasana, and this vasana determines the nature of the next action, and in doing the next action, one once again either strengthens the existing vasana, accumulates new vasana. This keeps going on and on and on. And he says, only when somebody does punya karma, it is that punya karma which acts as a trigger for one to start looking towards Shastras, looking towards Krishna. And when that happens, one falls into one of these categories of bhaktas. So in the spiritual journey, we all start as either artha or artharthi, which is, Krishna says, fair enough. In fact, Krishna uses the word udharaha. Udaras sarvayevaite, he says. Even somebody who is doing business with Krishna, he says, they are so noble. They are very large-hearted. He says, no, don't do that. He doesn't say. He says, at least you are engaging with me. No, you're only doing business. So therefore, he says, with more punya karma, the reason why one must engage in punya karma, the punya that one accumulates becomes a trigger, or becomes a good vasana for one to start seeking things from Krishna. And that's how the journey towards him begins, he says. And when that journey towards him begins, slowly and steadily one starts to graduate. And as bhakti grows, and when one who starts to know him more and more and more, this journey towards the finishing line gets accelerated. And Krishna says, therefore, in this life of in this life of births and deaths, because this samsara is life of births and deaths, one needs to realize that this getting on to this pathway, the spiritual progress of getting out of this cycle will happen slowly and steadily. And in that process, depending on the nature of the bhakta, one needs to realize what is the means and what is the goal. Because the moment he says life of births and deaths, immediately the question that all of us have is, we understand birth because we already took birth, but we don't understand death. What happens after death? If it is a cycle of births and deaths, we all have taken birth, we also know we are going to die, but what is that it's going to happen after death? Is there a journey beyond death? Is the immediate question. Now, if we need to know what is the journey beyond death, and if we need to know how do we manage the process of death and dying, I may be scaring you people away. No. Krishna is going to take up the most important topics of the different kinds of bhaktas, the means that they use to reach the goal that they've set for themselves. Each type of bhakta has different goals. Artha, arthati, jignasu, jnani. each has a different goal. The nature of the goal is also different. The means to attain the goal is also different. Therefore, how do we know the means to attain the goal? How do we know the nature of the goal? What happens at the time of death? Is there a journey beyond death? Several questions come up. Krishna says you have to wait for another month. 8th chapter, Akshara Brahma Yoga, takes up all these very, very profound and significant topics. Until then, let us not contemplate about death. Let us contemplate, celebrate life, because Krishna has given us this opportunity to learn and immerse ourselves in the Gita. This knowledge, this knowing Krishna is so very transformative. Knowingly or unknowingly, the more we know him, the more transformation that happens in us. And let us continue to contemplate on Krishna's nature, that he is the cause of all causes and we all belong to him. You know how blessed we are that we belong to Krishna. And continuing this contemplation, we'll all come back hopefully in bigger numbers. Those who are interested to know about life and death, please invite them as well. The journey of death is also very interesting. How to conquer death? Let me rephrase so that it is a positive message. Invite more and more people that you know of, and as we go further through 8 chapters, then we go to the blissful topic of Bhakti Yoga in the 9th chapter. This entire middle Shadga is so very blissful because Bhakti itself is so very blissful. Until then, Sarvam Sai Krishna Arpanamastu.